All right, let's get into this quick interview with the SARS Commissioner. Taxpayers can rest easy after Finance Minister Enoch Godogwana delivered his final budget speech of the sixth administration of South Africa's democracy. Minister Godongwana did not announce any major tax increases yesterday in Cape Town. No VAT hike, no clear wealth tax, and no increases in the fuel levy and road accident fund levy for the third year in a row. Instead, the minister has proposed tax increases on the usual tobacco and alcoholic beverages, known as sin taxes. Godongwana also revealed the new tax brackets for personal income taxpayers as some of the measures to alleviate fiscal pressures and raise 15 billion rand. Meanwhile, Edward Kieswetter, the Commissioner for the South African Revenue Service, has reaffirmed SARS's commitment to supporting the Finance Minister's strategy for fiscal consolidation over the medium term. And the Commissioner joins us to talk about this. Great to have you. Thank you very much, Commissioner, for your time.
Thank you. Pleasure, Leanne.
So we're very happy, I suppose, that as a taxpayer, that we're not going to be paying more. How do you feel about this? I suppose it's difficult to make money if the taxes aren't increased on your side.
Well, actually, I've consistently said, Leanne, that the most efficient way of increasing revenue for the government is to ensure a more efficient and a more effective SARS, because that will ensure that the money that is already due to government, the tax monies, are collected. And that in fact you reach a point where by increasing the tax rates, inadvertently you negatively impact on compliance, which means that instead of improving tax revenue, you have a decline in tax revenue. And we've seen that in a number of instances, and very clearly when VAT a few years ago was increased. And so we are a constant voice that speaks to compliance and administrative efficiency of SARS as the first port of call instead of raising taxes. So the minister, to his credit, have been consistent with that. Hence, we have found minimal impact on the taxpayer in terms of additional tax rates for individual taxpayers or for companies for that matter.
Yeah. You say, as you have, and I know you spoke immediately after the Finance Minister delivered his budget, you say a well-functioning tax administration within a growing economy is the most sustainable path towards improving the country's fiscal integrity. And we know that. That makes sense. How does SARS aim to support Treasury's strategy for fiscal consolidation over the medium term in the background of an economy and a country that's not necessarily growing? Unemployment is getting higher and people are not working.
That does make our work a lot harder, because a poor economy doesn't just affect businesses, it affects everyone. We see that, for example, in our default payments, in the outstanding growing debt book. And this is monies owed to SARS where taxpayers are not in dispute. They're not saying we don't owe you the money, they just don't have the money to pay for it. So it's always going to be harder in a declining or sluggish economy to have an efficient recovery of those taxes. And that just means that SARS has to work so much harder. So, for example, we can share with you that year to date, we have had to resolve over 2 million cases of outstanding debt. And this means that we follow it up by a phone call with a letter, first a friendly letter, eventually a sterner letter, and ultimately, in certain instances, a civil judgment, a freezing of assets. So the tools becomes harder. But the aim is to recover those taxes. And just that piece of work this year, Leanne, has ensured that an additional 70 billion rand ended up in the fiscus. That's 10 billion rand more than the equivalent time this time last year. Another area where our compliance work is important, we find, unfortunately, quite an assault on our refund system, where taxpayers seek to claim a higher refund that they are due, or even claim a refund that is fraudulent. What that means is every single declaration that a taxpayer submits, SARS has to assess it. We cannot do that without data science and sophisticated artificial intelligence.
Sure.
So let me share with you some data points there. This year to date, we have already had to assess 14 million returns from taxpayers. We have, through our algorithms, we have detected risk in 1.6 million of those. And then it means our staff have to verify, engage with the taxpayers, get additional information, and ultimately make an assessment. And just that work this year have already ensured that 66 billion rand of impermissible refunds have not flown out, have not gone back. So if you add all those amounts together, we have reported revenue in the fiscus from our compliance work year to date of 210 billion rand.
Yeah.
And so when the economy is down, our work becomes even more important.
It certainly does, and harder as well at that to collect. But I know that you sending accolades as well to those that work, the staff that do work at SARS, the 12,500 employees that work tirelessly to do this. And boy, do we know all about it. It's probably the most efficiently functioning department at the moment. And I know that is a lot of credit to you for turning it around. And certainly the president also giving that accolade by extending you being on there. One of the questions that, it sort of was a question mark that came to me as well when we heard the budget being delivered. SARS deploying CCTV and related technologies at licensed tobacco manufacturers to address the high levels of illicit tobacco. That was quite an interesting point. I mean, I suppose one of the questions we need to ask is, putting cameras is going to cost a lot of money. We know where it's happening. How many arrests have been made? And if we do know that this is happening, I mean, surely we can curb this very fast. But obviously putting these CCTV cameras, talk more about this.
Of course, any investment in technology and artificial intelligence and staff costs government money. But to give you a sense, Leanne, of the return on that investment, SARS, for about 8 cents of investment, is able to return a yield of 1 rand. So our investment is very low relative to the impact that it has. Coming to the specific investment in cameras, unfortunately, many operators, we often look just at criminals and syndicates, but across the value chain, there is an opportunity to falsify or misstate costs and product along the value chain. And the excise duty laws are very clear in terms of on what products specific taxes are levied, and it has to follow the entire value chain and understand at every point of risk or leakage that there's no funny business, if I may call it that.
Yeah.
And so the law allows us to track that value chain simply to ensure that there's no abuse of the laws. And the law is not just applicable to tobaccos, it's any value chain where excisable production takes place.
The manufacturers, just getting back to this illicit trade of tobacco and cigarettes, are the manufacturers, you say it's fully within the law to be able to do this. The manufacturers, were they happy to allow these cameras? Are there no disputes there?
Well, I mean, you know that taxpayers don't like SARS when they believe SARS has come too close for comfort. So there has been opposition by industry bodies, by groups of manufacturers. This matter has gone to court, but so far we're holding our own, and the law supports us to be able to do the surveillance. If companies have nothing to hide, then the surveillance should not be an imposition on them.
I want to get your opinion on what the minister has done. There's been a lot of talk around it, and this has to be my final question because I know that time is again not on our side. But I really want to get your view on the minister dipping into this golden foreign exchange contingency reserve account, 150 billion rand over the years, or 3 years, I think, that's going to go in here. How do you feel? Did this sit okay with you? Because I know there have been a lot of people that are very concerned, particularly opposition parties, that are concerned about dipping into this. How do you, as the taxman, feel about this?
So let me speak about how I feel about it as a South African. And that's no different to how I feel as the taxman. I think the minister, in staying true to the strategy of fiscal consolidation, has this enormous challenge of debt that continues to grow, and in the absence of economic growth and therefore directly a faster tax growth, has to find other ways of funding the expenses of national government. This is an effective way, by the way. It's not just South Africa, it's an international practice by many countries to lower the debt service cost. If we were simply using the money for consumption, that would be a high-risk application of the reserves.
Yeah.
But the minister has been clear that he wants to use this to pay off the most expensive debt and over time reduce the debt service cost. At the moment, every 20 cents in the tax revenue that we collect does not go to pensions and to building hospitals and roads and infrastructure. It actually goes to service debt. So that commitment the minister stays true to, and this reserve is available. The mechanism is in place to transfer it, and the way that it is being done by also ensuring that the forward-looking liquidity for the Reserve Bank is placed by transferring 250 but only using 150 and then making the 100 available for the Reserve Bank should the currency strengthen in the future is also a very prudent measure. So all in all, we are happy that it serves an important purpose.
Thank you. I have to leave it there. Edward Kieswetter, it's always a pleasure talking to the Commissioner of the South African Revenue Service about supporting fiscal consolidation through this improved tax administration. Opinions on the budget there.